Welcome back to Unlocking Your Creative Curiosity with Tammy Collins, where we explore, experiment, evolve, express, and evoke our creativity. We're jumping into our creative exploration with a new experiment around leaves. Here's a little sneak peek at what's coming today in this video. Okay, we are taping up our paper. You know I love to tape my paper. I think it's important to understand that I don't make a big ordeal out of this, right? So everything I'm doing is I'm just rolling with, it's for fun. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm not putting any pressure on what I'm trying to create in that way. So I just throw some tape down. I just eyeball it. There's no perfection involved. It's not measuring. I don't even know if the paper's straight on the board. I'm just eyeballing it. Now at this point, I suddenly realized I think I want to do two small ones. So I will do a tiny bit of measuring just to make sure that I don't end up with a totally crooked piece. It's not perfect. I think it was about a 6 1/4 inches. It's not perfect, but so I have an equal size square. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking my Tombow markers. I love the Tombow markers. They are water-based marker. They are vibrant and versatile, and I was inspired for this exercise, this exploration experiment by leaves, and so I just grabbed some colors that spoke to me that were around sort of the fall vibe of the fall leaves and the fall colors. And so what I do is I just randomly put some color on the paper. I get a wet paintbrush and I just move it around. I blend them together. I just let the water kind of do its thing here. I don't really overthink this at all. I'm just trying to create a background, the first layer in the piece, and I'm just giving it some life. I chose like a golden yellow. It's a very sunflower color. That's type of yellow, and sort of a brown, almost like a clay brown, a muddy brown. And then I chose a really rich, this is a purple. It's a really dark purple. A little bit of commotion there going outside with the dog and the chickens. I don't know. I hope it doesn't get too loud. But again, I'm just adding the color here. I'm spreading it around. I'm letting it blend. I'm not overthinking it. I'm just, whatever in the moment inspires me, that's what I'm doing. That's really what I want you to learn from this channel, is that you don't have to have a plan. I kept myself sort of in a box where I wasn't doing any creative work because I didn't have a plan. I don't know what I want to create today. I don't know where this is going. I don't know what I want it to look like. And then I realized that all of that information was what was keeping me from doing art. So I just stopped doing that, and I just sat down and said, I'm just going to do something. Doesn't matter what it is. The more I did that, the more I created, the more fun it became, the more I just reconnected with being an artist and creating and letting go of all of those, things that kept me from creating. So now I'm just taking a paper towel to sort of take off some of the water. I'm very impatient. I don't like to wait for things to dry. As you'll see a little bit later in here, I could have been a problem, but it's okay. Again, I'm not trying to do things right or perfect. This is a purple color paint that I have from another project in those squeeze bottles. You see me use those a lot. I had prepped a lot of paints for a project that I was using the applicators to apply. I really love that process and I'm going to do some more of that, but I need a bigger space to be able to really do that properly. In case you don't know, I'm in a tiny house, so that even adds a whole other layer of challenges to creating. So I take the bubble wrap and I ripped a piece off and I dip that in that paint, that purple paint. It's an acrylic paint, and just sort of use it like a stamp. I love this effect. I love the way it looks. I love adding this layer in. So now I'm getting ready to use the main inspiration for this. I went on a walk and I saw some leaves and they just spoke to me. I picked them up. I put them in a magazine. I put them in a press, let them dry. I think that I need to use a thicker book than the magazine because I don't think they're as flat as they could have been. But we're going to use some modeling paste and we're going to use this gilding gold, which I love. It really is unbelievable. And then these Delusion paints, I'm going to use a green and an orange. I think they're past their life a little bit. They're starting to gel, but ironically, you'll see here in a minute, that gel, to me, kind of acted like a little bit of a molding paste. So I really like that concept with these. So I feel like they were a really unique find. I got them at almost like a craft yard sale for almost nothing. I love to get stuff like that. And I'm also going to use this stencil. I was inspired to incorporate that. All right, so I put this under the fan for a couple minutes while I gathered up some supplies just to take off the heavy wetness. Thinking about composition and how I want to lay these out. These leaves they're not as flat as I would like them to be. That will take some more experimenting to figure out exactly how to get them in that right, composition, the right way that I want them to feel to be able to apply them. Leaves are a little bit of they have a bit of it's like a wavy, it's not flat like paper, right? So it's a little wavy. And you'll see here how that's kind of challenging. I'm really struggling to kind of stick it down. I push on one part, the other part wants to pop up. And I don't know if the flattening process, if I could do some things there that might help. I'm sure there are, so we'll experiment with that in a bit. But I spent a good amount of time here. I did cut out a little bit of this edit. It was a bit much, but I did spend a great deal of time here sort of trying to get this down using the Mod Podge. Next time I might use more of a tacky glue that would dry a bit faster, and that might help. But we got it down. It just took some time. The main thing is that I use the Mod Podge, so I can't really put anything on top of it or it will stick to it, and then I'll have a problem. So I'm just trying to work it and get as much of it stuck down as I can. And I figured I'll just come back and deal with it once it's dry. We'll see where it's at. Okay, so now we're going to try to put this other leaf on here. This one's a little bit flatter and not quite as ripply, if you will. So this time I decided I didn't want to go through all that mess with the Mod Podge, so I used this glue stick, which ironically worked pretty well. I think I would have done even better to put it on the paper first and then put on the leaf and then on there, but either way, it was a better application for that. So that worked out well. And then I put a little bit of the Mod Podge. I want to seal the leaf because it is a natural element, so I put a little bit of Mod Podge on there. So at this point, I'm really liking where this is going. I don't know what's going to happen next. I haven't thought that far ahead yet, other than that I have a bunch of things on the desk that I wanted to use. So I really wanted to use this stencil. And so one of my problems is I never wait for anything to dry. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's the way I work. So this is a real in-person, in live. So you can see you can see the texture of that paint's kind of strange, but it works really well in this application. So I don't know, I'm just going with it. It's a bit fidgety to use. It might have benefited from a little bit of, I don't know, mixing up, or maybe putting a little bit of it into a paste. I'm not sure. I just really like the texture. I love how it works with the knife on here. I kind of am digging it. I like the effect that it gives. Of course, like with anything, it takes a little bit of getting used to. The green really was better than the orange color. You can see how that one went on really well. And then I'm like, oh wait, maybe I want to do more here. And again, I'm working off the screen. I got to get better with that. But like I said, I don't know if you know or not, I'm in a tiny house. So I have this very small table and a very small space here to work on. So, you know, it kind of shows sometimes. I'll have to give you a better view of that, of what's going on. But I do have some exciting news coming soon around that. So here I'm realizing that a bunch of that got under the stencil. I must have moved it a little bit, so I was just taking some of it off. But it's okay. I wasn't too worried about it. I actually kind of like the modeled look of it. So let's see, this is 1, 2, 3. This is our fourth layer. It's also our 1, 2, 3, fourth medium, right? Because we have the Tombow water-based brush markers. We have the acrylic paint with, oh, there's sand in there, so that's actually a fifth medium. And then we have the leaf, which is a natural medium, and now I'm using this paint as a layer, and it's another medium. It's funny because you really don't know where something's going to go, which is kind of the fun part about all this. I didn't know that I was going to use this texture with this stencil when I see, you can see right there, you see how it's very crumbly, but look at how beautiful that works in that capacity. I love it. It's a little hard to work with, so you got one hand there. But that's what it's like. If you could see my desktop right now, it's really messy. Really, really messy. Okay, so I want to get some at the top up there. I'll probably going to be off screen a little bit, but I actually really love the way this came out. The more I look at it, the more I'm really liking it. And it's funny because I was really frustrated with it when I got to, after I put the gold gilding on, I was sort of like, what am I going to do now? So I let it be to dry for a while, and came back to it and had some inspiration and new ideas. And once I did all those things, I actually really liked it. So the lesson there is never give up. Just sometimes you just need to walk away from something, and maybe you're just done creating in that moment. A little off screen. So basically some of it got under the stencil again, so I'm just cleaning that up a little bit. I'm trying to fix it a little bit, smooth out a little bit of the rough spots. Okay, so now I'm getting out the modeling paste. You know, in this instance, again, this is very wet. You have to realize the Mod Podge is wet. The stencil stuff I just put on is wet, and so now I'm trying to come back in with this, and I just don't think it's really ready for it. So I just kind of leave it be, and not really liking what's happening there, so I just kind of move on from it. So now I have some scraps of tissue paper that have some of the um, exercises that we did before with the tissue paper experiment, and I just adding some random, almost throwaway pieces that I have of that, just to give it another layer and some more interest and texture. I'm rooting through the pieces right now to see which ones are speaking to me, and I'm sorry that I'm off screen right here again. I think I realize it and move it in a second, but so I believe that's our 6th layer. There we go. It's our sixth layer and 7th medium, I believe. So right now I'm just taking a sharp knife and just gently cutting along the tape because I don't want that to dry too heavily or too thick there. And I kind of ripped off a piece, so I'm just sort of adding something back. So now I'm trying to figure out, what do I want to do next? So now I want to get out this gilding paste that I love. And again, this is probably too wet. I probably should not be doing this right now, but you can't tell me that. I'm too impatient. So I'm like, maybe I can make this work. And I'm still learning about this gilding paste. I don't really know what it can do or what I want it to do yet. So it's just an experiment, really. So I'm actually kind of getting frustrated at this point because I really like everything that went into this piece. But because I'm not waiting for it to dry, you know, I think the material isn't doing what I really would like it to do. So I'm getting a little frustrated, and, you know, I'm getting close to just sort of saying, you know what, I need to just put this down and let it dry and walk away. But I really love this gold. It's so vibrant. Okay, so I did cut out some of that time there because it was drying, and so now you can see the lighting has changed a little bit. We really have to get better lighting for you. I apologize. But we, okay, so the lighting's not too bad, but I do definitely need to get you better lighting. I apologize. All right, so now I'm not really sure what I want to do with this piece. I'm kind of lost. So I'm pulling out some of my staple go-to things. Outlining. I'm using a Tombow to see if I want thinner, lighter lines, because Tombow is a water-based and it will give a more transparent type line. And, you know, I'm not sure that's really what I'm after, so let me switch gears here. Let's go to the Posca, and really define that. And that's much better. I really like that. So now this layer, I've lost track of layers now. I think this might be 8 or 9. This definition and this high contrast really give this a pop. And I think this is what we needed to have happen here. So now I'm sort of going, okay, well, maybe I kind of like this now. I just love these markers. For someone like me who really is impatient with dry time, these are huge because these dry really fast. And if you've been watching along, I thank you. I hope you're enjoying these videos. I hope you find some inspiration. You know, my passion is to inspire people to connect with their creativity, to be able to really dig in and figure out what it is that they're passionate about and how that is tied to their creativity. And I think that just showing people, you know, how to do creative exercises really can help you figure that out. And so I hope you're enjoying it. You know, I'd love for you to share in the comments what you think about the piece. What do you think about the series, the videos I'm doing? You know, are they inspiring you? Please feel free to share in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe. You know how the social media algorithms work. If you know someone that would love this content, please feel free to share it with them. You can look me up on the other social channels that I have in the descriptions. So, okay, I'm really liking that. So now my other go-to is to add in white. I love to add in the white. I think, again, it adds another layer and another punch. So I'm just going to put in some white dots. The layering here in this piece, I want you to kind of feel like, you know, if you were looking down in a hole almost and you saw things happening at different layers, it creates a sense of depth, that it sucks you into the piece. And that's kind of what I'm trying to create here. So I think once I added this layer with the dots, it really started to really happen. You really started to get a sense of all the layers and the depth in the piece. So I'm feeling rejuvenated at this point. I'm happy with it. I don't feel that the piece is lost. I'm really starting to pick up my momentum here. I get another couple ideas of what I want to do to really accentuate that depth. I'm putting more dots closer together towards the outside of the piece and less as you go in to really sort of accentuate the depth. And right now what I'm doing is I'm adding in black ink behind the stenciled leaf flowers or the leaf stem, just to make it look layered and give it more of that sense of depth. It's just a black gel pen, and I call these like cobblestone pieces. They're just sort of random. There's no real specific nature to them. It just gives another layer. It almost acts, if you will, as like shading, you know, behind the leaf. It sort of pulls it, it almost gives it a shadow. But it's really neat. Doing a creative process like this, you really begin to figure out things that you really like. For example, I absolutely love the bubble wrap stamping effect. I really love that effect. I love the gilding paste and the textural element to that particular material. I really love adding in, you know, gel lines of some sort. I really love adding in the Posca marker. So I have some things that you'll see that I use over and over again. And then I begin to sometimes push the boundaries and pick stuff that I don't always use, right? Because when you keep using the same things over and over again, you can get really stagnant and you won't see a lot of growth. So once you really love something, change it up a bit and say, you know what, I would normally never use, I don't know, yellow. And build your exercise for the day in your creative journal around yellow and see what will happen. You might be pleasantly surprised. So that's always a really good tip when you get sort of stagnant or you don't know what to do. Do the opposite of what you would normally do. So now I'm kind of doing some of those shapes as if they sort of break apart. It really adds to the effect. I really love the way this came out. I almost want to go back, even though now it's done and it's been some time and I'm looking back. I almost want to go back and do something else to it, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I feel like I could have and maybe should have put a shadow around these leaf stems, and I almost want to go over all these cobblestones again and darken them a bit. But I really like these pieces. They are about, let's see, they are about 10 by 6, basically, is the finished size of each piece. So here we have a set of 2 sort of coordinating pieces. These would look beautiful in frames hung near each other. Okay, so now I'm thinking, oh, you know, I need a little more white. So I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to add in some highlights on the leaf stems. So right here I'm debating about that, but I think I want to grab a different size marker for that because I don't want it to overpower, and that's what I'm realizing right there, that the one that I had was too fat, and this one's much skinnier. And so I'm just adding in a little highlight here. It really just makes these pop. Gives those leaf stems a little bit of dimension. I'm really loving this piece. I'm also realizing I just stuck my arm in the wet dots. But luckily, because it's a Posca, it's not too bad. They were still a little bit red. I do have some white dots on my hand, but it's not, you know, it didn't smear or anything. You know, if you were doing this and you were kind of following along and sort of replicating, my one recommendation would be to let things dry in between. When I'm trying to film and I'm trying to communicate something, I'm sort of impatient and I want to keep moving through. I don't want to have to do a ton of edits because then that makes me not want to record. So I'm trying to keep it super simple. But my advice would be to let things dry a little bit more than I do here in the video. But as you can see, if you don't, it's not a crisis. So because there's so many layers on here and there's some thick elements, I am using a razor to sort of just gently run along the tape to kind of pre-slice that tape edge just so I won't have as much trouble trying to get it off. I will run into a couple of issues, but overall it comes off pretty good. But look at how, I'm so excited. Look at how great it looks. I'm so pleased. I almost gave up on this piece. I literally almost said when it was drying and I was getting ready to come back and revisit it after I'd walked away for a while, I almost said, well, I'll just, maybe I'll just cut them up into little circles or squares or something, and I'll just start a new piece. But then I said, well, let me just add these couple other details and see what happens. So there you go. Just taking it a little bit farther can make a total difference. I really love this piece. I'm really shocked at how much I'm loving it. And see right there, that's why I'm cutting that. That's a big piece of tape with some glue and all kinds of stuff on there. Just trying to get it all. There we go. And you can really see right there how shiny and rich that gold gilding stuff is. I mean, it's just crazy good. I have the worst time with tape. I cannot find a tape that does not rip the paper. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's experiment with creativity. For more, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow me for more inspiration.